What's up, everybody? One Fun Guy Podcast in the studio hanging out tonight, guys. I'm super excited. I have Anna coming on the podcast. I have Shatter the Moon coming on the podcast, guys. I'm super excited. Got a lot of stuff happening. Things are moving along nicely. So I'm happy that that's going on. And everything else has been good. So, if you're on, say hi. Introduce yourselves. I'm going to share the show. I'm going to wait for Kelly to come on. So if you guys are new here, say hi. Make a comment. Tell me what you guys got going on. I see Philip's on, Tabitha's on. So, guys, I'm going to start sharing the show. If you guys could share the show for me, guys, that would be awesome. Like I said, guys, I don't require gifts to hang out. If you like what you see, just hit the like button. That goes a long way with me. Gazella, what's happening? If you guys are on, say hi. If you're new, follow me. I'll follow you back. I'm super excited to be on. I got Kelly coming on with me tonight. We're going to talk hard rock and heavy metal. This show will be on YouTube afterwards, so I am going to just share it out with a few people right now. Hopefully they're on and they'll swing by. That's pretty much it, guys. I'm just waiting for Kelly to come on. Once he does, we'll get the ball rolling with that. I am a little early. I said 7 o'clock, but I generally tend to do that. And I feel terrible because he gets on and I've already been on for a few minutes, but I want to get everything going and get everything set for how we are. So if you guys are here, say hi, follow me, guys, and I'll follow you back. If you're new, say what's up. If you're new to the One Fun Guy podcast or the Pod Cult, just introduce yourself, say hi, we're here, we're going to have a good time. Amy, what's going on? So yeah, any of my old school people that are on, introduce the new people in. Welcome yourselves, guys. Say hi. Be a part of what I got going on here. It's super fun, especially if you do like hard rock and heavy metal. It's a good time. We generally talk anything that has anything to do with that subject. So with that being said, I'm going to wait for Kelly to come on. Once he does that, we'll be good to go. I did have some ideas about what I wanted to do with my backdrop in my studio. The prints are here. I got this cabinet, but I am thinking about getting a TV and putting it up and then lowering the camera. That's an idea. I don't know if that's going to happen yet. Tell me what you guys think about that. Beth, what's going on? Should I hang a TV here? Should I get Lay? What's happening? Should I do a TV behind me and put my image in the screen as it's going by? Should I just keep this? If you guys have any ideas of what I should do, please let me know. Either here or send me a message or, DM me and let me know. If you guys have any suggestions on how to cover this, I thought about hanging stuff from the ceiling, but then you still see the ceiling when I'm live here. When I go live on StreamYard with my normal podcast, I turn the camera horizontal. Right now I'm vertical, so you see everything. When I go live on my other podcast, it's horizontal, so all you see is the top of the screen. TikTok does not allow you to do that, unfortunately. You have to stand straight up. So with that being said, I'm just kind of doing some stuff here, guys. But if you're on and you're new, say hi, welcome in. I am the One Fun Guy podcast. I do a weekly podcast with my buddy Kelly, and then I also do my own podcast where I have different people come on and do a conversation style segment. So if you're new to me, say hi, introduce yourselves, guys. If you're in the chat, share me out. If you like what you see, all I ask is that you hit the likes. Again, you do not have to send me gifts to follow me. I'm not looking for that. If you guys like what you see, hit the like button. I appreciate that. Follow me, I'll follow you back. We'll go from there. Just what's up? So if you guys are on, like I said, just say hi. If you like the show, guys, that goes a long way. If you could share me, that would be better. If you like what you see, just tap the screen. But there's no requirements to send me gifts to hang out. I'm just kind of doing my thing. So, Ivan, what's going on? If you guys are new here, like I said, guys, follow me and I will follow you all back. Hopefully you like what you see. You want to be a part of this tonight, guys. So that's it. I'm just sharing it out to a few people right now. Once I get the ball rolling, it's going to be me and Kelly tonight. So we're going to do that. So if you guys are on, say what's up. I'm just kind of hanging out tonight, guys. I'm not really doing anything too special tonight. It's just a normal show. Diane, what's going on? Welcome, 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 everybody. Jess, what's going on? If you guys are on and you know me, are familiar with me, say hi. Share me out, guys. Introduce yourselves. Talk amongst each other in the chat. It's a good time. We always have a good show. We're just kind of still working. I worked all day today, guys. I literally rushed home. I changed and I came on. So I had no time. I didn't even eat yet. I haven't even had dinner. I just kind of was really in the process of getting everything going. So, for me, that's kind of where I'm at with it. So, I'm just texting Kelly here. Just letting her know I'm on. And then we're doing that, guys. So we're just hanging out tonight. George, what's going on? Tara, what's happening? Beth, what's going on? So you guys are in. Say hi. I know I have to eat, but I don't have time to eat. I'll have to do it after the podcast. I don't really have time to do that. So with that being said, I'm just kind of hanging out here, guys. Just waiting for Kelly. I'm just sending him a text message now. Just getting my other half on, guys. Kelly will be joining us tonight. We have an interesting show to talk about. We got some stuff going on. Ducky, what's happening? Tiffany, what's going on? Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight, guys. I can't thank you enough for being a part of the show. The topic today is going to be the Grammys and what categories are not existent and what should be. That's kind of the big controversy, especially with hard rock and heavy metal. It's always been a fluke. This year they got it right. GOJIRA kicked ass at the Olympics. They wrote a great song. They deserve all the spotlight in the world. Metallica just seems to get on every year, whether they make an album or put out a song or not, which really pisses me off. I am a Metallica fan, but I am not a huge Metallica fan, right? I like them for what they are, but I would much rather see a Pantera. I would much rather see, and Kelly's going to hop in and talk to me about it, as well. But the Grammys, they just get it wrong, just like the Hall of Fame gets it wrong every friggin' year. I don't know who picks these people. I don't know what they do, but man, they sure know how to fuck things up.
Yeah.
So
what more can I say to that?
So that's where we're at. So somebody asked what the topic was going to be tonight. I said we were going to talk about the Grammys. I just gave a bunch of kudos to GOJIRA. They kicked ass this year at the Olympics. They put out a great album. They put out a couple great songs. And I was just saying that like Spirit Box is the same way. However, Knocked Loose wasn't on there. There were a lot of other metal bands that put out great albums this year, and Metallica hasn't put out an album since 2022, and yet they manage every year to be the number one metal song or the number one metal album. Even when they don't put out an album, they're just there. So obviously, all joking aside, right? Metallica is probably the biggest band in the world. I don't think there's any denying that. Whether you agree with it or not, it just kind of is what it is. But they are not deserving every year to be a part of the Grammys when they don't put out new music or they don't put out a new album. Just because they're Metallica does not give them the right nor the privilege to be on all these award shows. And I don't agree with that at all. The bands that put out albums should be picked. Now, me and Kelly and some people watching here, we're heavy metal fans, right? So we would say Behemoth should be on there, right? Cradle of Filth should be on there, right? People that put out albums this year that have good songs, right? But they're never going to be on. They don't even, the record people don't even know who these bands are, right? You probably have the CEO of Sony who's probably in his 90s that still thinks Metallica is the best band in the world. That's why these guys are getting on. These people that are representative of the metal community aren't a part of the Grammys. They're just not. They don't have any of it. So you're not going to get the president of Metal Blade Records or Roadrunner or Baphomet or any of these other record companies that strictly deal with heavy metal. They're not going to be part of the, board of directors or advisors that get to pick the number one metal song. They're just not. They're not anywhere near that.
No, you're absolutely
Ellie,
right.
what's up?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's what you get. Now, Spirit Box, great choice. Gojira, great choice. Metallica, I mean, terrible, right? It just god awful. It was, it's just a bad decision. And the thing that sucks about it the most is the fact that every year they're going to be nominated and they don't deserve it.
Yeah. And I mean, they're not, this is, so I didn't watch your Grammys.
I didn't watch
I'll
it.
some
In
data,
all
but
fairness, I did not watch it.
I looked, I glanced through what happened, right? And like every other award, I'm shaking my head because it's more politics than it is about, musical achievement in any genre. Like,
Sure.
I haven't heard Beyonce's country album, for example, right? So
It's a good song. I'm not going to knock it. It's a catchy line dancing song. There's no qualms about it. But it's one song on an album that isn't country music. It was one song. So to get Best Country Album, it's not like you had Darius Rucker of Hootie and the Blowfish that wrote a country album and sang 9 country songs. She had one.
Yeah. But anyway, so I by that I wanted to say that it's the whole thing, not just for metal. It seems like a joke more than anything nowadays. It used to be that it's like, here's the best of the best that happened in music in the past year, right? But it's not now.
I mean,
right?
back in the day, right?
It's ass kissing is what it is, right?
When you had the 80s scene, right? You would have Poison, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, In Excess, Depeche Mode. Any one of them could be on the Grammys at any given time, right? When Guns N' Roses played, Poison had the big controversy when they played the Grammys, right? When CC started a different song, he was all messed up, and they were supposed to play, I think, Look What the Cat Dragged In or Unskinny Bop, and he ended up playing a different song, and they were like, whoa, stop, this isn't the song, and they had to restart because he was high as a kite and completely shit-faced. So I mean, those were the good old Grammy days, right? But now you have performers that don't perform, they lip sync, they're all choreographed, the music just sits behind them, and they get a 3-minute version of a 6-minute song that they get to compile in so that it's television. There's no performing anymore. There's nothing real about it.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. I mean, that I don't really have that big of a problem with when there's that many artists on one stage in so long, so you can't set up a good live sound setup for that many artists. So that I don't have that much problem with, but more like the awards and the nominees is just
that's
political, right? So it's not at all like for best metal performance. I do think that if I would have picked the metal performance of the year last year, hands down, Gojira to the Olympics. I mean, it's no question about it. So the right thing won, right? A lot of people actually did like the Judas Priest album, so
I did, right? So I'm not knocking that.
I can see that was on there.
You
can see that was on there. Obviously, Poppy Knocked Loose, that was on the list as well for
no doubt about that.
No doubt about that either. But then we have Metallica, but pretty much everybody talked about Blood Incantation. Yeah, like they were always in the top 5 of every list in any metal publication, wherever, right? But not even a mention, right? It would, and fine, I wouldn't expect them to win. Like I said, the much bigger things happen that were, the Grammys are still mainstream appeal type things. But just for credibility's sake, too, it's like,
Yeah,
Put
that's,
put
I
those
mean,
things in there, and drop the Metallicas that didn't do anything. You know, and also like do I know it's not as huge as hip hop R&B. I know it's not as big as pop, but there's one award for that has the word metal in it, right? And the rest of it is bundled in with rock and alternative.
right, right.
You know, like Beatles or Saint Vincent won in those categories. Like there weren't even any metal nominees in
Mm-hmm.
any of the other categories. You know, so fine, put in a little. It just seems like such a broad thing: alternative
It
and
is.
rock and
Yeah,
metal
yeah.
all put together. Man, that's
You
like
know, and what's going to suck is that like Nine Inch Nails is going to drop an album this year. They're going on a world tour.
so
Trent
they're gonna
Reznor's
win.
doing a soundtrack for a movie. They won't ever get nominated. They're just not. They won't even be on the radar, which is sad.
Oh, I think that there's a good chance they'll win just because he's gotten in with Hollywood now too, right?
You did before
He's
that,
been he's been getting the
you
Oscars,
know,
right? So he's been getting the best scores Oscars a couple of times, right? I think at least. So I think that
time will
he's gotten
tell.
in there.
That's you
It's
know,
it's the same boys club more or less. I think
yeah.
maybe
So
maybe not, but
I, going over the balloon of categories, right? And it's not just even the Grammys, right? It's every award show, right? It's the MTV Music Awards. It's the only show that was ever entertaining in that was when MTV did the Gods of Rock. I don't know if you remember that. Every year they would have like one artist, like Slash one year. They gave it to Kiss one year. They gave it to Metallica one year. But it was all the people in hard rock and heavy metal like Slipknot, Disturbed, Alice in Chains, all these other bands would perform, and they would give it the Metal God Award. So Ozzy got it one year, Halford got it one year, Bruce Dickinson got it one year. So they would give out these like the Metal God was the award that you won, and it was a show dedicated to hard rock and heavy metal. So that was the only thing that like we ever got that was like even close to when they did the Nickelodeon did the Teen Choice Awards, right? And they did all that. None of the punk or ska bands that were popular got any of the thing. My Chemical Romance never won. It was always Green Day or Blink 182. It was never like the hardcore punk bands, right? That the kids like. It was always just popular,
yeah,
poppy punk.
yeah, yeah. And I get reminded why back in the day too there was like I did not give a shit about what was going on in the mainstream or the awards or whatever, right? Sometimes you got a pleasant surprise like this time. Well, it shouldn't be a surprise like
Right, that.
like GOJIRA,
Or I
right?
think
But
what was it?
but it
It
was
was
still
in the
like
'90s when Johnny Rotten showed up, when he had that checkerboard jacket with the red tie and the he
I
he
don't remember that.
introduced somebody, but it's like that was like the first time that like he showed up and people were like they knew about him because of the Sex Pistols, but that was like a big thing. But you don't get that on the yearly. That was one time, 1 year.
Yeah, but but yeah, I think to some extent though, the spirit box singer kept the spirit of metal pretty good there, right?
You
It's like,
know,
yeah, no, we're not scary people. We're actually pretty quick and jokey. Yes, I hope Poppy will win, or maybe Spirit Box.
yeah, and
You heard about that whole thing, right?
yeah, and
Yeah,
again, it's
it almost got more exposure than any
yeah,
metal award,
it's
right?
the controversy of and again, the knocked loose thing with Poppy on Jimmy Kimmel was a fluke, right? Like it's a late night show. Nobody ever really watches it, right? And for whatever reason, that managed to get the eye on metal, right? Because it was Poppy with a band that nobody really ever heard of. But they were there for Poppy because she's a pop star, right? She's a kind of a cult icon. And when Knocked Loose did that with her, it gained all the exposure, but for all the wrong reasons. They were like, why is Poppy playing with them? It should have been like Knocked Loose is playing with Poppy, right?
Right.
Poppy's just a pop singer that is kind of cult famous. She's not like hugely famous, but Knocked Loose in the metal scene is, a top tier band.
Yeah.
So would it have mattered if it was her playing with Nails or her playing with any of the other hardcore bands? Like, would it have mattered that it was Knocked Loose or any other band? Like, not really, because all the exposure still would have been on her.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it was still a moment though, right?
It was. It was awesome. It was an awesome moment.
And yeah, noteworthy. And I think that it was done right too. That all the hardcore metal fans were kind of also like, yeah, it's Poppy, but fuck, that was good.
Yeah,
awesome. Like,
right.
So it had the right credibility, and they they really knocked it out of the park.
Right.
Sorry, I'm slow today. But you see what I mean. So I do think that it only did good things for the scene, and I think it helped Knocked Loose too. Like might not have helped Poppy all that much, but I think it did help Knocked Loose by doing that. Maybe they didn't get top billing for it, but I still think that they got bumped up a notch. I think in people's minds anyway. So yeah, fully deserving of that nomination, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if there would be any sort of metal awards, would that let's say that there would be a sort of an underground Grammys, whatever, right? Which would be like the credible people in the punk, hardcore, metal, industrial, EBM type scenes, right? That would have their own like dark awards or whatever, right?
Right.
Do you think that would be embraced at all, or would that just be like, no, we're just doing this to have a party to get everybody in a room, but nobody gives a shit. Actually, we shouldn't give out any awards. We should just highlight good moments or good records that happen.
I think that there are more closet metal fans. Like, obviously, I'm an ambassador for heavy metal, right? If somebody asks me what kind of music I like, I'm not going to say, oh, I like pop, or I like, just because it's the cool thing to say, right? I'm an ambassador of metal, and I'm going to say I love heavy metal and hard rock music, right? Like, That's what I say, right? So if somebody asks me, I don't like closetly say, well, I like pop or I like country because it's popular to say, right? I'm an ambassador of the metal community. And I think that there are a lot of people out there. So if a mainstream television network like a Netflix or a Paramount or an HBO Max ever did that, right? If they ever had just a true metal show or an underground show, I think that like you would get a lot of viewership because the fans would want to see that, right? And it obviously would have to be global, right? So you'd have to offer it in Germany and Sweden and in Norway and Japan and but I think that community globally is huge, right? In the United States, it's probably hard rock or rock music is probably very low on the pecking order of like rap, mainstream pop, country, there's all these other genres, and then metal and rock is probably at the bottom of that list, right? So I think in the United States it would be kind of a hard sell, but I think globally, if you did it, look at that, Lock and Key.
Oh, look at that.
That was awesome.
Key to her heart.
That was fantastic. So, but in all, I think if you look at it as a whole, I think it would be very successful. Now, it would have to be one of those things where you judge it on a baseline, right? Netflix puts it out and says, okay, if we got 10 million viewers watch this, next year we can go and do it bigger and better. If we only have 1 million, they're going to scrap it and you'll never see it again, right? Yeah. And then you have to look at the bands of availability, right? Who are you going to have represent the metal and punk community or the underground community, right? Because are you going to have your Metallica is too mainstream for that. They're going to be like, that's not us, right? But Testament would do it. Anthrax would do it, right? They're not mainstreamy. So you'd have to look at the bands that you would ask, right? Slipknot might say, listen, we're too big for that. Like, we don't want to do that, right? Rammstein might say, we're too big for that. We don't want to we don't want to do an underground thing. We're not underground anymore. We are mainstream. So you'd have to go to the true underground scene, right? You'd have to go to the bands that are, diehard in it, and where they're selling, less than $5,000 or 5,000 seats in a concert, right? That's your underground, playing the rave in Milwaukee for 1,500 or 2,000 people, right? That's your underground band. I'm not talking about your Panteras and your Metallicas that can go play 35, 40,000 seat arenas and sell out. They're mainstream. Phil would do it just because he's underground, right? He would do it with Scour, Down, or somebody else, right? But I don't think he'd bring Pantera to do that, right? Like, he would just for fun, but I don't, like, Metallica would say that's beneath us. They wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I would say that, if I was in charge, let's say that you and me would put on a gala the size of the Grammys. Like, we would have the same production value, the same budget, and anybody, we could invite anybody to it, right? I would still invite Metallica to it. And then,
I
but
would.
but
I
but what I'm saying is that it would be cool for credibility's sake to have that brutal honesty. It's like, no,
right,
Metallica did not produce anything good this year, so they're not even on the list of
right.
honorable mentions even for the
Yeah.
year, right?
So you can
So it's like,
get invited to the show, but you're not making it to the stage.
well, yeah, I mean, hang out, come along,
Right.
like, but your old asses are being swooshed by
Right.
by these other kids, like. It's time for you guys to face the fact that it's not the yes men around you in the big business conference rooms
Yeah.
that are doing
Like,
this. This is a fan show, right?
yeah.
Makes me even think, like, would there even be awards? Like, I was thinking, like, just highlighting really cool shit. Like, you don't have to say that
Right.
Blood Incantation was album #1 and give them a statuette, but it's
Yeah.
like, according to people here in the audience and worldwide that have done pre-voting or whatever, right?
You put out one of the better albums
yeah.
of the year.
Here are the top 5 albums. Like, we don't give a shit about who's #1, but and then and then there are some honorable mentions. Let's say, like, Isan, really pushed the boundary in terms of what symphonic and black metal can do together, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's or whatever else that feels like it was noteworthy of that time, right?
So I think one band that's going to slam this year, that's going to do very well, is when Killswitch puts out their album, right? Killswitch Engage. They're planning on dropping a new album this year, and they got the backing of some pretty powerful people to go on tour with them. So that's going to be, well. I think Manson's slated to put out an album this year, so he'll do very well, right? I don't know for sure, but the rumor is Ozzy's going to put out an album this year, right? So that'll probably do fairly well. I think fans just, for the fact that it's Ozzy. But I think that, as far as like pretty mid-level bands putting out albums, it's going to go into that next stratosphere, I think, because those are the guys that could be like, I hope Gojira really embraces this ambassador of new metal, right? And that they roll with it, right? That they become the new face of heavy metal, right? Not to say that they're going to be the next Metallica or the better Metallica, but I mean, what a group of 4 dudes that you would want. They have the fan likability. They talk well. They're able to play fantastic music, and they seem like just good dudes, right? That they don't do anything sloppy, or they don't they always dress well. They fit the part, right? They're kind of like the homage to what Motley Crue used to be, right? Where you would look at a picture of Motley Crue and be like, those guys are rock stars, right? Like, Gojira's got it, right? They were very well put together, especially at the Grammys. They did very well for themselves.
Yeah, and their acceptance speech, which was, like, sentence #2 was to go see your local bands. That's where it's at, Yes,
Yeah,
like,
so they're,
I
I think they've
moment for me.
embraced it well, and again, they did put out a fantastic album and a fantastic song, right? So they are all deserving of what they want. I don't think there's a single fan that's going to say, well, why didn't you give it to Metallica? Like, they were like, Gojira was the better band. They were the better ambassadors. They were awesome, right? So that's, for them, that was great. That's what they did, right?
Yeah, no, and I think that's also why they have a loyal following. I mean, obviously they kick so much fucking ass. It's
Right.
incredible, right? But just having that that approach. I had one guy on my TikTok saying that he stood in line to say hello to one of the members or whatever, right? And just when it was his turn, thank you so much, Ali, for all the chilies. No, so right when it was his turn, he said, "I'm really sorry. I gotta go talk to my buddy." And he was like, "Okay." What can you say?
Right.
So GOJIRA guy was away for maybe 5 minutes and then came back and apologized profusely and spent a good 10 minutes with the guy or something like that afterwards,
Sure.
because he felt bad that he had to leave him stranded there for a while. So they do seem like genuinely nice people that know where they come from, and they know what the foundation their support is from, and all that stuff. And I talk about this every show we do, but
Yeah, I mean, and
but it's
that's
so super important.
but that's the big thing, right? Like in the metal community, and especially in the music community, right? If you're a fan and you pay money to see somebody, and they say, "Hey, when we're done, you can meet us or come and talk to us," or like like how inviting is that, right? Like they get to do that they want to interact with their fans, number one, and then number two, that they're willing to take the time an hour or two after a concert to meet all their fans, right? They don't have to do that. I'm sure those guys are tired and exhausted, and they just played for 2 hours. I'm sure the first thing they want to do is go take showers and get changed, and like, but for them to come out and do that is really kind of cool. And I think that like it goes a long way with the fans, right? When bands do that, right? Now, if you're playing an arena and there's 50,000 people, you're not going to be able to meet every one of them. It's just impossible, right? But when you play that local show and you're the rock star and you hang out with the fans afterwards, like people love that. Like that's what they appreciate, right? So like, in terms of them doing that, it's great to hear those stories, right? And like you said, they didn't forget where they came from, right? So they're mega superstars. They're on a global level now, yet they still seem like they would go and play an acoustic set in front of 50 people.
Yeah, for sure. And I know there are bands that have special tickets for meet and greets or whatever, right? Like you pay $100 or
Yeah.
whatever to hang out with the band for 5 minutes or whatever it might be. I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
Sorry, I mean to me it's like, yeah, I'll do meet and greets, like, but I don't, maybe if you have a hard time making ends meet or whatever, right?
Yeah. So
But
I think the meet and greet, from what I've seen, is on a bigger level, right? When you have a venue where you're playing for a couple thousand people, obviously the people that pay the $100 to see you are going to be in that top tier. Those are the people you're going to say hi to, and then everybody else just kind of trickles in or tries to get close, right? I I don't say that it's wrong or right. Like I'm indifferent about it, but I will say that it's impossible to meet everybody, right? You would be
of
there all
course,
night if you had to meet 10,000 people and you waited to say hi to every one of them. So you might say, listen, we're going to do a meet and greet. It's going to be $100. And the first 500 people that sign up, they're going to be able to hang out with us, and they're going to be able, because it's the only way that you can show appreciation to your fans without showing that you're being unfair or unruly to the rest of the 7,500 people that came. So you're going to say, listen, the first 500 people that buy the $100 are going to get the meet and greet, and they usually sell out within seconds, right? Because everybody says, well, it's totally worth it to get a picture and to get, so I kind of see where they're coming from, because it shows their support for the fans, but it's also realistic that they can do that. Because how would you pick 500 random people to say, well, you guys are going to be the 500 people that are going to meet the band, and everybody else that bought the ticket is SOL?
yeah. No, I mean I understand it. Okay, but to some extent too, it's like that super fan that is broke will never be able to get
True.
to meet his band. Like, so what would he try to do, right? So, but anyway, yeah, I'm just thinking that there could be other ways of doing it. Yeah, sure. Let's do a
Yeah.
formal meet and greet in a conference room somewhere else or whatever, right? But I'm still gonna hang out afterwards, to send autographs or whatever if I feel like it, type of thing. And if that's par for the course, then the super fan can just sort of be first in line, show up at 3 in the afternoon or whatever, and just be one of the first 10 there that
Right.
that
Which
get
they
that
will, right?
spot,
That's
right?
kind of, how they are,
Nick
right? Super
Kazi. Hey, how's it
super
going?
fans tend to do that, right? Like they'll be the first ones in, they'll wait in line. The show opens, the venue opens at 6 p.m. They're there at 1 in the afternoon, right? They're gonna take the chance that maybe they see the guys coming out of the tour bus, or one of them's gonna go smoke a cigarette, or they're gonna, walk around and they're gonna run into somebody, right? Like, those people are your fans, right? Those are your hardcore super fans. But I think bands recognition now will know that, right? Like if they're there and they're there to see them, like the fans, if they call for somebody and they look, they see, they'll probably come over, right? Like that's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah, Nick Kazi. I'm good, thanks. We're talking about, we started with Grammys and now we moved on to a little bit more like how metal bands interact with fans and stuff. But
But they all tie in, right? Because like
I think it's one of those things that you know if you just take the time, or if even if you're busy, like you've just played and you feel like, no, I got a headache, I haven't
right.
slept for 3 days, I need to go have a shower, then still be respectful for to the fans that are staying there, and just say like, guys, I'm so sorry, I can't do it tonight, whatever, right? But really cool,
Yeah.
whatever, right? Just be respectful to it, and fans do understand, but they don't like to be sort of blown aside, right? They don't want to be dismissed, sort of, right? Or have some sort of bouncer come and tell them, "Hey guys, move up," that sort of thing, right?
So do you think as a band, it's better to say hi to a couple people that you're friends with, or just ignore everybody and just say goodnight and leave and get on your bus and hide out?
I think if you only have like 10 minutes of socializing in you, so you could only meet like 4 or 5 people or whatever, right? Then it might be a better idea to sort of just say thank you everyone, or whatever, right? And then take off. But
Because I've always felt that way, right? Because like there's
if you
some
have a half
bands where
hour, like so you can meet a good amount of people, like sign 100 autographs or whatever, right? Then I think it's worthwhile. But if your battery is completely empty, then I would say you're gonna disappoint more people than
right. Because there's bands like Jackal that will literally hang out and say hi to everybody who's there, and they will always shake your hand and take a picture with you and sign whatever you want. If you have an album or if you have some kind of, like poster or something like that, they don't make you sign for prints. They don't make you pay for anything, right? They don't like, they're like, whatever you have, just give it to us and we'll sign it, right? So CDs, posters, whatever. They're just kind of one of those bands that are like that, where they're known for doing that. Like, and when you go see a Jackal show, that after the last song, Jesse's going to say, "Thank you for hanging out with us tonight, guys. I want to make sure that I shake each and every one of your hands. We're going to be at the merch booth in about 20 minutes. We're going to go get changed and we'll meet you out there." And everybody waits.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of doing it too. Just in general, also to keep it safe for some of the bands, because we know that super fans could also get
Sure.
overeager and stuff, right? And that could harm other fans in that process. So the merch booth is a good place to be, right? And then and then sign one thing per person, type of thing, in that case, right? If you buy a T-shirt or whatever, I'll sign it with my Sharpie
Yeah.
or whatever, right?
So I thought it was interesting, right? I went to see Mushroom Head about 6 months ago with my buddy, and the meet and greet VIP pass was $20. So I bought it. I'm like, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
So when I went with you, the meet and greet passes were $55. It was like they just raised them $25 because they've got so many people interested in.
I was
right?
coming. I'm a celebrity.
So it's like, I get it, right? Because obviously you can only have so many people do it, but at the same time, it's like I'm not in a band, so I don't know, right? Like I don't entertain people for a living, right? I don't get on stage, and I don't have all these followers and loyal fans that paid big money to come and see me. But I would imagine that it would be something the bands would probably talk about, right? Like have like a band meeting and say, what are we going to do? Are we going to have less people and charge more money? Or are we going to have more people and charge less money? Like, how are we going to navigate this, right? Because obviously certain cities are going to be more lively than other cities, right? So like when Mushroom Head comes around, Illinois, they're a Midwest band, right? So they have a lot more followers that will drive from Ohio to Michigan, Indiana, Illinois than they would if they're playing in California or they're playing in Nevada, because people from Ohio aren't going to drive 14 hours to do that, but they'll drive 4 or 5 hours to go see a band, drive around and say, okay, they're going to play Thursday, Saturday, and Monday. We're going to go and we're going to spend and we're going to see them at all the cities, right?
Yeah.
So I think that I don't know if they have band meetings, but like you would think that would come into play, right? That at some point they would have to say, okay, we did that last time, and man, we were there for hours because so many people bought this. Let's see if we raise the money, if that many people will buy it, or what makes it worth it for us to do this.
Yeah. Or you just set a cap of how many you're gonna do, right? So that it's first come, first serve, and have the same price for everybody. Then that's cool. It's weird that that they would raise the prices for showing Joliet. You'd think that would be something that they do in Vegas or whatever, where people are used to shelling out a bit more money, right?
Yeah.
So I would put a cap on the number of people in that case.
Yeah, I always found it interesting to see like how bands would determine like what becomes an idea, what sticks, what gets scrapped, what like what they do, for as far as like, how they're going to do meet and greets or how they're going to be with fans interaction, right? Mushroom had never had a problem of getting into the crowd and, doing the stage diving and doing, where they carry them through and they get in the crowd and they sing, where other bands are like, we're not going to leave the stage at all, no matter what. We just stay on the stage. We don't want to be, and then there's other bands that like, they don't care. Like a guitarist will go into the crowd and start doing a solo around, 30 people, and then kind of make his way back to the stage, where like I don't know how these bands determine like what they do. If it's spur of the moment and they're just like, screw it, we'll just go out, or if they're gonna be like, nah, we're gonna stay back on this one.
Right. Yeah. If I would ever give Metallica props for anything, is that they do tend to put their stage in the center of the stadium, so
Yeah.
in kind of a circle. So no matter, you're always as close as you could possibly get, no matter what side of the arena you're
Yeah.
on. But yeah, where was I going with that? I lost track. I'm a little sick today. I'm sorry. My brain is not really working.
No, it's all right.
But yeah, I mean, having that fan connection, whatever, right? And knowing your fan base too, because I mean, if you were a punk rock band, like if you were not Green Day type of thing, right? Like if you did not have a gazillion people following you, but
Mhm.
you could still find 1,000-seat type of place, perhaps, right? It would be frowned upon to charge $50 to do a meet and greet with that, right? They would lose fans over charging $50 for a
Yeah,
meet and
I
greet.
mean, it's
Because
weird
it's like,
because
what that's fucking capitalist non-punk thing to do,
right. I mean,
so
you know,
you got to know your audience a little bit too, like
yeah.
who are the people am I going to piss people off to, like how much is too much, like
Well, I mean, you've gone to a ton of punk shows, right? Punk shows
yeah.
are always the cheapest shows to go to because they wanted to get as many people in that arena or that bar or that area they were playing as possible, right? So if they went to a venue that held 500 people, they wanted 510 people in that crowd. They wanted to oversell it, and they weren't going to charge but $6 or $7 to do that, right? And then you
Yes.
got other bands that kind of blew up big that like would never do that, right? They would be like, we're going to charge the maximum we can. We're going to basically, raise the ticket prices up because now people want to come and see us, right? But those old school punk bands, they never did that.
Right. I did see one thing though for Liars Club here in town. So Tommy Stinson, that used to play for the Replacements, he was playing the Liars Club. And have you been there?
I've
Like,
been, yeah, I actually, I saw Gore. Well, it wasn't Gore. It was their after party.
oh, okay.
And they weren't
Yeah,
in costume, so
Gore,
nobody
like
knew who they were.
because it's a tiny place, right?
Yeah.
It's really small. So anyway, so tickets were like, $20, $25 or whatever, right? And then you could do a meet and greet if you had another 25. But if you paid $150, then you could hang out with Tommy Stinson all night, or whatever, right? Which would be like Okay, well that's kind of cool, you know, because it's a tiny place.
Could you
So
do that without the
there,
$150?
well, no, but that's the thing. Like, okay, so there were different tiers, right? You know, if you want to hang with him for 5-10 minutes, you know, talk to the guy,
Right.
then you know. Um, but for $150, you get to hang with the legend if you wanted to, right? You know, so depending on how big of a replacements fan you are, I mean, I you know, I have a couple of buddies in Sweden that would probably at least think about it. You know, would give it a good thought.
Yeah.
But you know, but I didn't even go to the show. Because I mean, and I figured, well, you know, there he is, and if I seem like a nice guy, I could probably sneak in 10 minutes with him anyway.
That's what I'm saying. You spend
just from
150 bucks to
yapping, you
get,
know. That's
10
what's
minutes with the
always
guy. If you're rubbing elbows with him and you talk to him for 10 minutes, you pay the 150 bucks. Doesn't matter.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's always worked out for me. You know, like you know, you start to say something nice or whatever, and then it ends up being a conversation or whatever. I've never paid to meet a band ever. You know. You just need to be kind of cool about it.
Like it was funny because I paid the 25 bucks to meet Mushroom Head because I wanted him to sign the poster that I had on the thing, and I figured the only way to get all 8 of them to do that was to pay the 25 bucks.
Sure.
But I met them all individually when they were waiting around for the meet and greet. So I didn't have to pay I would have gotten the signatures anyways because they were all there signing it. The only thing I wouldn't have gotten was a picture with the entire band together. But I mean, I got pictures with every one of them individually with my phone. The only thing I
There
paid
you go.
25 bucks for was a group photo. That was it. I got all the signatures outside of the meet and greet. I went up to Jackie. I went up to Steve. I went up to Skinny. I went up to all the people. And I'm like, hey, can you sign this? Can you sign this? Can you sign this? Sure. So I didn't get it paying the 25 bucks. I got it when they were hanging out before it even started. So
Yeah.
I kind of just threw 25 bucks away, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you got a group photo.
Group photo
I
was
mean,
25 bucks.
yeah.
That's what I chalk it up as, right? Because without it, I met them all individually. They were all kind of hanging out. So I didn't need the group photo.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I've been to the Star Trek conventions, and $25 for that you get a photo with the lowest extra on one episode of Enterprise type of thing.
Right.
So we're talking about bigger money there. You know.
Yeah.
I think we paid $50 for a picture with Doug Jones, or for 3 pictures with Doug Jones, who plays Saru.
Yeah.
He's also this guy in Past Labyrinth and whatever, right? And you get 3 questions, you know. So
Okay.
that's what $50 got you. My wife is a huge fan, so we paid
That's worth
50
50
bucks.
bucks then, right?
But you know, a quick picture with Shatner, $150, just
Sure.
to stand there, you know, beside Shatner for 20 seconds, and that's it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
And he's in his
but
90s now, so he's probably not going to be around that much longer. So every
right.
picture you get with him is probably matters, right?
But the thing is that everybody expects that. Everybody knows that all the prices or whatever are published in advance too. So it's totally up to you whether you
Sure.
want to or not, right? Um, Christopher Lloyd, for example, he was there last year when we went, you know,
Yeah.
because he was a Klingon in one of the movies, right? But he probably charged a little bit too much because he sat there in his booth and there was really
Right.
nobody there, even though that
And,
was
and
fucking
everybody's bringing Back to the Future
Doc
stuff.
Brown was sitting there like I was going goo goo gaga over Doc Brown, you know.
That's it, right?
But there was nobody there, so he probably put too high of a price tag, you know, like
Yeah.
he wasn't that huge, that
And he
big.
probably had the little asterisk, I'm not signing Back to the Future.
Right, or whatever, right? But you see what I mean, right? You know, so if you know your audience and you know what
Right.
they're willing to pay, then okay. If you have a hard time making ends meet, and there's you know, then the
Yeah.
question is, can you make those people that paid feel screwed over a little bit by hanging out afterwards with other fans, just to sort of like write autographs for the ones that didn't have the meet and greet? You
Yeah,
know?
that's what I'm saying, right? You happen to not pay for a meet and greet, and you go to the bathroom and you see William Shatner standing next to you, right?
Oh, Curtis is here. Cool.
You know, what do you say to that, right? If you're standing next to the guy and you're like, hey, William, I'm a big fan, whatever, and he says, oh, that's great, right? You never know where you're going to meet him, right? So you didn't pay the 150 bucks to see him, but the next thing you know, he's out getting a pop at the vending machine and you're standing next to him, right? You got more than your 150 bucks that people did that, right?
But there are things that you are not supposed to take pictures with these people outside of the booths or whatever.
Sure, I
Like,
get it, right?
it's an unwritten rule
Right.
type of thing. Yeah, I mean, we ran into Data and all kinds of people. Otherwise, they're it's chock full
Yeah.
of people, right? But it's an unwritten rule, and like
Right.
because people are paying for it, you shouldn't do it in the car doors. But but I would still be in favor of if you do a meet and greet, do it dime bag style, right? Like
Yeah.
stand there with your guitar and play some guitar for the dude, and
Yeah.
have a chat. Whereas the afterwards thing would be more like hello, quick question, whatever, autograph, and then move on to the next one and try to do a little bit more assembly line type stuff rather than and having
Yeah.
it perhaps a little bit less meaningful, but it's still like at least that kid will be able to say that he met
Sure. Right. That's
his favorite band and shook a hand, that sort
you're
of thing.
paying for the story is what you're paying for, right? Because when you go to work or school the next day and if somebody says, how was the concert? Because you tell everybody that you're going to see a concert, right? And you're like, oh, it's phenomenal. Here's the pictures. Oh, I met the band, right? So like I did that when I went to see A Killer's Confession, right? I was at the merch booth. I happened to see William Revis's wife, right? And I'm like, hey, I was like, is he gonna come out? And they're like, she's like, no, he's getting ready. And I was like, I just really wanted to meet him, right? I'm a huge fan. And she's like, hold on a second. So she went and got him for me. He came out and I took a picture with him in the back. And I did it like away from everybody because I didn't want everybody to like bum rush him to be like, oh, he's taking pictures. So I was very discreet about it, but that's how I got the picture with him. So like when I sent it out, everybody was like, and I was like, that's how I got to meet Waylon, right? That was just the way it was. I was like, I wanted to say hi. I said, I shook his hand. I'm like, I really like your music. I love what you're doing with the mushroom head. And he's like, oh man, I really appreciate it. And I'm like, cool. Maybe 10 seconds, right? To take the picture and to say that. He said that was cool, but it made my night because I didn't have to wait till after the show to see him. And I saw him when he was like in civilian clothes. He was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. He wasn't in his jumper with the paint on and the mask and stuff. So it was just kind of cool just to see him. And his wife didn't have to do that for me. I was like, that's awesome. She was running his merch booth.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I think that there are tiers of it. Some people want to meet the band and whatever, and others just want to have that experience of I shook the hand of, so.
But paying the money guarantees you that story, right? So when you pay the money and you meet the band and somebody says, hey, how was the concert? You're like, awesome. It was great. And then afterwards I got to meet them, right? It's the story you're telling, right? It's the happiness that it brings you that you got to meet them and you get to show the pictures of, your coworkers or your friends that were like, oh, guess what I did after the show? I got to meet them and I got to hang out with them. And it's like, you're paying for the story, right? The memories are what you're paying for. You're not paying really just to meet the band. It's cool. But the byproduct is from years on, you are going to save those pictures now. And every time you go, you'll be like, oh, I went to see them a few years ago. I met them. Look at, and you show them. That's what you're holding on to. Those are what you're paying for. It's the memories and the stories. It's not the fact that you got to meet them, right? It's just.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So, and that goes along, obviously, you said your wife was a Star Trek fan, right? So she takes a few pictures with some people, right? But, as she goes to more and more conventions, right? And somebody says, oh, I wish I would have been able to meet. And she's like, well, I got to meet them, right? So it's the story. It's like, it's the memory that you have that somebody might have said, oh, I wish that person was here. And you're like, yeah, it's terrible that they're not here, but I met them 2 years ago when they were, and this, you know what I mean? So you have that, right? And it goes a longer way. So it makes, it matters in that regard.
Yeah. What's cool sometimes too is when you if you're there early or whatever, you see who the guitar tech guy is.
Yeah,
example, right. So if you want to nerd out about the guitars they're playing or whatever, right? Talk to those people because they want to talk about it and they know all the shit, probably better than the members themselves.
Right.
What's going on with if you're interested in the nerdy stuff. So it's pretty cool to look at who else is running their show, like who's the sound guy or whatever, right? And they can also be the ones that if they like you after 5 minutes, it's like, hey, do you want to come meet the band?
Yeah, sure.
That's sometimes an in as well. So, but yeah. Okay, so we've come to an agreement that it's good. That it's okay to pay for a meet and greet.
I think so.
But it's also you shouldn't feel snubbed if the band afterwards stays to sign some autographs or stands by the merch.
I think it's definitely okay to pay for a meet and greet, but I don't think you should have to pay an egregious amount of money to do it, right? If
Right.
it's $50 or less, I think it's worth it. When you start getting into the 75, 100, 150, $200 range, when you've only paid $40 to see the band, but now you have to pay $200 for a meet and greet that only comes with an autograph and a picture. You know, they're not going to sign guitars, or they're not going to sign albums, or they're not going to, you can only sign like this, and this. That's where I have the issue with it, right? You know, 25, 30, 40, even I would say $50 was probably the max I would ever pay for a meet and greet. And I think as you start getting into that higher price range, if you are a super fan, I think it's just kind of, they're taking advantage of you at that point because they know you can afford it. But, you know, like you said, what about the person who can't, but has everything that, you know, the band's ever put out, and they're the super fan, but the guy that just has a crap ton of money that might have only seen him once or twice and doesn't really know that much about him, because he has it, he gets to meet them, where you are like, I just can't afford that kind of money, so I'm going to have to pass.
Yeah, and Ali just said something important here too, which is something that, you know, the bands that are active on social media too, is that, you know, if you're a subscriber to my channel, or if you're
That's a
a
good
member
idea.
of my Discord, or
Yeah.
whatever it may be, you know, we'll put you in a raffle. You know, tell us the city you're in, what gig you're going to attend. We'll put you in a raffle, and maybe get on the guest list, or maybe you get a meet and greet or
Yeah,
whatever.
totally awesome, right? And I have no problem doing that, right? Because if you're going to be a part of a band's social media and you're going to follow them and you're on their fan page, or like you said, you even pay the $5 a month or the $6 a month to get their first releases, or to get announcements before everybody else does, or get a chance to buy tickets before everybody else does, right? I agree with that. You should have priority in that range, right? You should have the right to say, well, I'm a member of the fan club and I pay this amount a month monthly. You should have the right to be, either get on the meet and greet before anybody else, or at least have the chance to buy pre-sale tickets where they're still reasonable, where they're not on the secondary market, where, like, you know, and that's what, again, we talked about it before, but Metallica did that, right? How many people subscribed to Metallica's email services so that they could be one of the first people to get the pre-sale tickets at $60, so you didn't have to pay $400 when they hit the market?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
You know,
All right. So let's say you paid for a meet and greet. How long would you expect to hang with the band during that?
I mean, realistically, probably 3 to 4 minutes if you're lucky. By the time you first meet the first guy and you say hi, and he signs something, you meet the second member of the band and you say hi, you meet the third member of the band, you say hi, you're probably 30 to 40 seconds per every member. And if there's 4 members, you're looking at 2 minutes, 2.5. I mean, realistically, that's what you're going to get, because they're going to keep the line moving, right? Maybe you could say, hey, listen, can I sneak around you guys to take a picture? And they might say, yeah, that's an extra 30 or 40 seconds to get everybody together, that they snap a picture with you, you know. So realistically, probably 3 minutes tops, maybe 4 minutes if you're lucky, you know, because you're going to have them sign everything. You're going to get to chat with them, shake their hand. How you doing? Great show tonight. Great seeing you guys. I love you guys. You know, you're great. You're, what a fantastic band. I've been a fan forever. And as you're walking down the line, and you might have 3 to 10 seconds with every member plus a picture. I mean, realistically, you're looking at maybe 2 to 3 minutes tops.
Okay.
I mean, and that's realistic. Like, that's, you know, now if it's a VIP one where you wait till everybody that's gotten the regular one, they already are in the mode where they're just kind of waiting for you, right? Then that's a different story, because sometimes you pay $150 and they're like, okay, listen, after they're done with their signings for the regular people that pay $20, they're going to meet you over there, and they're actually going to hang out with you, right? They'll take you backstage and you'll be in the dressing room with them, right? They might give you 15 or 20 minutes of real time, right? To ask questions and to, you know, give insight to, you know, like, you know, what they're doing, right? But that comes at a cost. That's a premium cost to do that. Unless you're direct friends with one of the guys in the band, and he'll say, hey, wait till everybody's done. When they're done, you guys come and hang out with us, you know, as that's privilege, right? You're not paying for that. You have direct access to the band. You know, you have a connection that gets you to do that. But I think reasonable for a normal meet and greet, you're probably looking at 3 to 4 minutes tops. By the time you start the line till the time you get all the signatures, you meet them, and you get a picture with the band, that's probably realistically what you're looking at. And it's just kind of, is it fair? Who knows, right? You can make the argument that, it should be longer, it should be, but you're one of 150 people that bought that $25, $30 one, right? They can't give everybody 5 or 7 minutes. They'd be there for 3 hours.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
realistically, probably 2 minutes. I mean, that's the reality of it, right? Like I said, you get the fact that you get to take your picture with them, and they get to sign stuff for you, and you have the memories, and you have the stories to go with that. But I mean, if you're expecting to get 15 or 20 minutes with the band, that's hundreds of dollars. That's like the VIP membership where they'll say, $350 will get you a signature with whatever you want. You'll meet the band for, and you get to hang out with them. But that's a premium. You're paying for that.
Yeah.
But I say a normal meet and greet, realistically, probably 2 to 3 minutes tops.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking too. And especially if it's only $20, it's not really a money maker for the band anyway to do that.
No,
it's just a way of weeding out the plebs maybe. At least these guys want somewhat to meet us. They're not just here because they were stopping by. Because at 2 minutes it's 30 people in an hour, right? How much energy do you have when you either have played a gig already or you're about to play a gig? You're trying to get into, depending on your mentality, like what's your ritual?
Yeah, that's
so how to get ready. So they probably wouldn't be able to spend much more than an hour. And if there's a VIP too, then that's another extra hour.
And you have to be reasonable too as a band, right? If you are playing a show in, let's say, Chicago, but you don't have to be in Detroit until Tuesday, and this is a Saturday or Sunday night, well, you might have the freedom to hang out for 2 or 3 hours because you got nothing the next day. You're traveling the next day, and then the next night you're going to play. But I mean, if you're playing in Rockford on Saturday, Belvedere on Sunday, Joliet on Monday, right? You're not going to want to hang out because you're going to want to get to the bus, get to the hotel, get a decent night of sleep because you have to do sound check at 1 PM the next day. You're not going to want to hang out for 3 or 4 hours with your fans until 2:30 or 3 in, and then expect to be at the venue the next day to do sound check. You have to be realistic about it, right? So I think that, like, if you're at the last leg of your tour and you're doing every other night or every third night, well, then you're probably going to have a lot more time to spend with the fans in that city because the next day is going to be resting and the next day is going to be traveling. So you don't have to be on sound check until, Tuesday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when it's Saturday or Sunday night. You have that flexibility. But if you're playing a weekend in 3 cities and you have to go boom, 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 you're not hanging out. You just can't. Maybe 15 or 20 minutes after the show, if you're lucky enough to, and you're going to get in the bus and you're going to go because you want to get a decent night of sleep. You're going to want to get a good breakfast and you're going to want to get ready to play the next night. So realistically, a lot of that comes into play too, right? Where you're at, how you space your tour out, what your time frame is, right? How many bands will play for 45 minutes or 50 minutes and then at the last song they do one encore and they leave, so they give you 1 hour. But how many bands will play for 2 hours? They just keep rolling out the songs. They're like, hey, we're here. Thank you guys for coming out. We're going to make this a little bit longer than we planned. We were only supposed to play for 90 minutes, but we're going to play for 110 minutes, right? We're going to give you guys 4 more songs. Well, then now that's going to cut into their hanging out time because they're playing songs for everybody. So all the fans are more appreciative that they're playing more songs. But then at the end of the night, they might say, listen, we were going to do a meet and greet, guys, but we're only going to give you half an hour because we just played an extra hour of set.
Yeah. I haven't really heard that happen so often. I mean, that's something that Springsteen would do or something, I think. But otherwise, the set lists are pretty set. And even the venues have very strict guidelines often on how long a band can play. Maybe not so much for a headliner, but
because obviously that's what I'm saying.
I think the Forge and Joliet. I think that the Forge and Joliet have some sort of weird thing that they have to be done at 11. Like there's not allowed to be any sound coming out of it.
I thought that too, but A Killer Confession didn't get done playing until 12:15.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they went way into. Now I don't know if that's like a baseline where they say, guys, let's try to get done by 11 so we can get everybody out of here.
but I stayed till the very end, and I had to wake up the next day for work. So I was hurt. I didn't get home till like 1:15. So by the time I got to bed and changed, it was like 2 in the morning, and my alarm was going off at 6:30. So I could have easily left at 11 o'clock and said, it's a school night. I got to get home and do the adult thing. But I was like, screw it, I'm here. I'll just suffer through it, and that's what I did. Right. So, but they played well past 11. I mean, it was 12. It was 12:15 when they ended their last song, and they were still going to do their meet and greet afterwards. So the people that worked at the Forge weren't getting out of there until 1:15 or 1:20.
No. Yeah, but yeah. But yeah, that's another way to do it is to try to please everybody. It's a rough thing to do it too, right?
Yeah,
if you're gonna play a 2-hour set, now you can almost charge twice as much for the ticket.
Yeah.
When you think about it, if you want. But if we all just sort of start thinking about our professions in the hourly wage terms too, right?
I mean, it's
in a bit, so if you're a full-man band, let's do the meet and greet thing just for fun. So if it's 2 minutes per person, you get 30 people in 1 hour, which is $600. But if you're 4 people in the band, that's $125 a pop. And since this is your business, there's taxes that come on that. You probably need to have insurance and shit like that, right? So you get down to less than a pretty mid-level software developer makes per hour, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it ends up being, after all, not that much money, but it's still at $20. It's still like,
right.
Oh, yeah,
but I think though, in the grand scheme of things though, right? If you do that at one city and then you get notoriety and you get all your fans saying they were awesome and they stayed and they shook everybody's hand and they took pictures, and then the next city they do it, and it keeps going word of mouth that this band likes to hang out with their fans. They appreciate their fans. They're very appreciative of their fans, and they have loyal fans. Well, that's going to keep building. You don't want to be the Slayers of the world saying that these guys are pricks and they don't do anything and they don't appreciate their fans. They just make good music, because that was the big beef that Slayer had for a very long time. Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman hated signing autographs. They just wouldn't do it. They were like, they just did not want to be bothered, and they got that bad reputation of being assholes because they didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, so you got to look at it from that point. Now, obviously, Slayer had no issue selling out concert after concert after concert and being that way, but they were notorious for being known that they were pricks and that they were not going to sign anything. So don't even ask them, because they were going to tell you to go fuck yourself.
Yeah, you have to be as good as Slayer to get away with not being friendly to fans or Tool or whatever.
And so that was, that was always kind of the big thing with like Danzig, right? Like the Misfits, the rest of the guys in the band were like, "Oh, we'll meet our fans," and Danzig like, "I ain't meeting nobody," right?
Yeah.
He'd leave, and all the rest of the guys would stay.
There's something to be said about the mystique of that too, right? How evocative Danzig is, like he's an enigma type of thing, so nobody expects to do a meet and greet with Danzig.
Right.
Like it would always be like, no, but then it becomes a real person. I don't want Danzig to be a real person.
And we all have bad days, right? Like you said earlier, the guy that's got the splitting headache, or that's got a migraine, or that's got a bad knee or a bad shoulder, and all he does is want to get the hell off the stage, back in the bus to take his Vicodins or his Percocets. He's obviously going to be in a much different mindset than the guy that feels good and had a couple drinks and is loose and wants to chat, right? So if we're in a band and you're like, dude, I just want to get out of here, my head is killing me, or my back is killing me, you're not going to want to get up and down and stand up and get down and take pictures with people, bending over for the short people or leaning up high for the tall people, right? Your back's killing you. If it's wrenched, you're going to be like, I just want to get back in the bus and lay down, where most fans might not understand that, right? So if they're like, you sign up for a VIP meet and greet and you got 3 of the 4 guys there, well, what are the fans going to say, right? They're going to be like, we got gypped, right? We got duped.
Yeah. Actually, the drummer is my favorite person in the band.
Right.
And the drummer wasn't there, so I paid for nothing.
So
So
I
yeah,
think, in that realm, if you're all in and everybody in the band agrees that we're going to do it, then you do it. If you have one or two people that say, listen, it's just not worth our time to do it, then you just scrap the idea and you don't do it. Because I think overall consistency is key. You can't be nice one night and sign autographs and be the cool band, and then the next night be like, listen, guys, we're not signing anything, we got to go, right? Because the fans at the one show are going to be like, they were great, they hung out, they signed, and then the next fans set are going to be like, they were dicks, they didn't hang out, they didn't do anything, they didn't wait, they just left, right?
yeah.
So I think consistency, if you're going to do it, you do it. If you don't, you don't, and you just stick with don't doing it.
I think that a cool thing to do would be to have a box of pre-signed T-shirts or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So when this happens, it's like it's gonna happen, but it's like, hey, we have a signed T-shirt for you,
sure,
as compensation, right?
yeah,
You can't really give a voucher for a free ticket to the next show or whatever, right? Because
right.
who knows how many, but
Yeah, I
something
mean, you
like
got to
that
be
to be
realistic, but
like,
at the same point too, like I think you have to be. I think fans are understanding, right? If like for example, when COVID came out, right? How many bands canceled concerts because they're like, we just can't play. Our lead singer got COVID, or our guitarist got COVID. We got to cancel the show. Most people are like, just feel better, get better, beat this, and then come back around the next time, right? But when you're at a meet and greet and you've paid up already, right? And there's no refunds, right? If you're meeting two of the five members of the band and you signed to meet all five of them and three of them went down because they're not feeling good, well, as a fan,
oh
you're going
yeah,
to be like, give me my money back, right? This isn't fair.
well, maybe you can give them that choice, right? Also, right? Hey, only two guys are available to do this, so you can either have your money back if you want,
Sure.
or you can have this signed T-shirt,
Right.
or you can go in and chat to those two guys because maybe those are two guys. I mean, um, my favorite band probably ever is a punk band, Descendants, who were also called
Mhm.
All for a while. Um, I met them twice. Once is All, and once is Descendants, and I only met two members each time. But I was so thrilled both times. It's like, oh shit, I got to meet Bill
Right.
Stevenson, and Carl Alvarez, so I was over the moon, even
Yeah.
if it was just two of the four,
Sure. But I mean,
Um,
if you're meeting them just to meet them and you see them, you're excited. But if you pay $200 to meet the band, and you only got to meet two of
if you
them.
pay 200 bucks, yeah, then it's
Yeah.
like, either a refund or something that would still feel like,
Right.
if you pay 200 bucks to hang out with them for 20 minutes and you say no, you get a T-shirt instead, then it's like, I got screwed over with that one too, right?
Yeah.
Um, so the equivalent thing would have to be like maybe a voucher rain check for next time to come around. Like, we're not going to give you a refund, but next time
Exactly.
around,
Right.
yeah,
But at least I think if you get, like you said, compensated in some way, right? you know Spending $150 or $200 is a lot different than spending $25 and three of the four members are there and the fourth guy's not there, and you spend $20. You're going to be like, just hope he gets better, right? Say, we'll see you guys on the next one, right? But it's a
unless you're
lot
sick.
different if you dig deep into your pockets and they're not there. You kind of are like, what the hell, right? And so I
Yeah,
think that's where, having that kind of, stability comes in, because if you as a band say, listen, for the next tour, we're just not going to do meet and greets. We're going to be in another country. We don't speak their language. We don't we're just going to get on our buses and go. But it's a unanimous decision amongst the band members, right? Because then you're going to always have the one band member that's going to hang out afterwards, right? He's just going to do his thing,
yeah, yeah,
kind of go against the grain. And they just do, right? They're rock stars.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah. No, that's true.
so
Yeah. So we're getting to the top of the hour, so I like to try
yeah,
to tie it all up in a bow from where we started to where we are. And
yeah,
we started with the Grammys and how detached the Grammys are from what's actually happening,
right.
especially in the metal scene. And what's the most important thing in the metal scene? What would determine that is the fan connection.
That's
You
it.
know, what is it?
The fan
What is
base.
it the fans are about? What is it the fans are supporting? And not so much what is being pushed out by the suits in the offices, right?
Agreed.
So that's where the Grammys fail, even though they got the best metal performance right. but otherwise,
Right. I agree. And so now I think what our topic should be for next week is the news of the day, which you may or may not have heard about Black Sabbath.
oh yes, I have heard about that.
They dropped the announcement today.
Yeah.
One show somewhere
Yeah.
in England, 9 bands.
So I think that we know exactly who's going to win the Grammy next year for best metal performance, and that's going to be Ozzy. Even though Bill can hardly play drums anymore, and
Yeah, it's just a
Ozzy
one-time thank you to the fans, right? So I think
it
you know,
is-
we talked about
Yeah.
Kiss and the retirement scene, but like I think Black Sabbath might be doing it right. But I think what are you going to get when you see Black Sabbath? Because you're not going to get the Black Sabbath of the 2000s. These guys are in their almost 80s now, right? So are they a shell of what they once were? Are you basically going to prop them up for 4 or 5 songs? I mean, I don't think Ozzy's capable of singing for 2 hours, or if the
Yeah.
band's playing for that. So I don't know what they're going to do. It'll be interesting to see.
It will be.
But they did get.
Let's save that for next week, because
Yes,
otherwise I'll get going.
we'll do that. So that'll be our topic for next week. So we'll wrap it up, guys. Tonight, again, we just want to say thank you to everybody. We love you all. Thank you for the love and support, the continued love and support. We are going to do this weekly. So, you know, the pod cult is going to keep going, and we're going to keep growing. And we'll be here next Thursday to talk about this Black Sabbath thing. So with that being said, if you follow me, follow Kelly. He's got a bunch of good stuff going on over there, guys. We are the Pod Cult. This video will be posted up on YouTube soon. So if you missed it live, you'll catch the replay, and I'll tell everybody where to go.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks, guys. Good night. Enjoy your week, your weekend, and be well. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.